Alright, so we're now in the second half of our third part of our lecture. So, this time we're moving on to antifungals. So, kanina, pinag-usapan lang natin mga prokaryotes like bacteria, and including mycobacteria. Now we're moving on to eukaryotes. Eukaryotes including fungi. Okay, when we're learning about antifungals, it's useful to divide them, or this topic, into two. Classification based on mechanism of action, classification based on route and indication. So the classification based on mechanism of action, we need to learn about the microbiology of antifungals. While with the route and indication, it's useful to know that because those are the clinically relevant aspects of antifungals. Alright, so again, fungi are eukaryotes. So they have both a cell wall and a cell membrane. And the important components of those include chitin for the cell wall, and chitin is also composed of beta-glucans. These are types of carbohydrates that are only found in fungi. And the cell membrane of fungi contains ergosterol, a cholesterol derivative or a related compound to cholesterol, I mean. Not really a derivative, but it's only found in fungi. So the antifungal agents gain specificity by working on compounds or chemicals that are only found on the cell wall or cell membrane of fungi. Okay. But of course, hindi lang naman cell wall at cell membrane ang target ng antifungal agents. Meron din sa microtubule, meron din sa DNA synthesis. Tingnan natin yan sa next slide. Okay, this is a fungal cell. As I have mentioned, merong fungal cell wall and fungal cell membrane. Ano nga ulit yung component ng fungal cell wall? Chitin and beta-glucans. Okay, meron tayong mga tinatawag na cell wall synthesis inhibitors. These are called the echinocandins and you could recognize them based on their suffix fungin, like anidulafungin, caspofungin, and micafungin. Right, cell wall synthesis inhibitors. They inhibit the synthesis of beta-glucan, which is a component of chitin. Moving to the inner layer, which is the cell membrane, there are two classes that are important there. First, those that interrupt directly the cell membrane integrity by binding to ergosterol. Ergosterol, as I have mentioned, is a component of the fungal cell membrane. This include the polyeins, specifically amphotericin B, and also nystatin, right? So they bind directly to ergosterol, which is a component of the cell membrane, thereby disrupting the cell membrane of the fungi. But another important class there is ergosterol synthesis inhibitors, which include the azoles. Azoles, you could recognize them by their suffix azole, like clotrimazole, fluconazole, traconazole, ketoconazole, miconazole, and voriconazole. Alright. But tingnan nyo yung pathway, no? Na ergosterol synthesis. It starts from squalene. And squalene gets converted to squalene epoxide. Squalene epoxide gets converted to lanosterol, and lanosterol gets converted to ergosterol. So once again, there are two steps that are important in ergosterol synthesis, catalyzed by two enzymes, squalene epoxidase and 14-alpha demethylase. 14-alpha demethylase is the target of azoles, while squalene epoxidase is the target of terbinafines. Alright? Alright. Tapos meron pa tayong dalawang class na nasa loob naman, intracellular ang action. These are the nucleic acid synthesis inhibitors and the microtubule inhibitors or microtubule disruptors. The nucleic acid synthesis inhibitor is flucytosine. Flucytosine, fluorinated cytosine. So sa pangalan pa lang, alam natin kung ano yung structure niya, di ba? May ginagaya siya na nucleic acid, which is cytosine. But missing in this slide is the microtubule disruptor. Microtubules are important for mitosis, right? For the formation of the mitotic spindle. And ang drug na yon, na wala sa slide na to, is crisofulvin. Crisofulvin. Right. Sige. So remember that. The different classes that we're going to learn. So, 6 lang naman yun, di ba? So, madali ang tandaan. Right. So, this is another figure showing the 6 drug classes or the antifungal drug classes. Azoles, including, ano nga ulit yun? Amphotericin B and, azoles, including the clitconazole, that target 14-alpha demethylase. And polyeins that target bind directly to ergosterol on the cell membrane. including polyenes and nystatin. And yung squalene epoxidase inhibitor, ano yun? That's terbinafine. Okay? There are also those agents that target beta-glucan synthesis, and those include echinocandins. Ang suffix nila are fungin. The drug that blocks nucleic acid synthesis is phlocytosine, while the drug that disrupts microtubule functions is griseofulvin. Alright, so once again, what are the 6 drug classes? Starting from the outermost, the beta-glucan synthase inhibitor, caspofungin. Beta-glucan is a component of chitin. Next, those that bind ergosterol directly, the polyenes including amphotericin B and nystatin. Another one is the ergosterol synthesis inhibitor, the 14-alpha demethylases, the fluconazoles, itraconazoles, and voriconazole. So those are all azoles. And including under that ergosterol synthesis inhibitors, we also have the squalene epoxidase inhibitors. Those include terbinafine and naphthephin. Right, so those are 3. Working on the cell wall and the cell membrane. Those that are intracellular include um, the nucleic acid synthesis inhibitor, 5-fluorocytosine, and um, the microtubule assembly inhibitor, griseofulvin. Right. So again, beta-glucan synthesis inhibitor, echinocandin, ergosterol binder, amphotericin B, and nystatin called the polyenes, 14-alpha demethylase inhibitor, azoles, squalene epoxidase inhibitor, terbinafine, nucleic acid synthesis inhibitor, phlocytosine, and lastly, the microtubule assembly inhibitor not seen here in this figure is griseofulvin. Alright, so now isa-isahin natin sila, the different classes of antifungals based on the mechanism of action. So let's start with the cell membrane disrupting agents. Again, these are called the polyenes, including amphotericin B and nystatin. They bind directly to ergosterol, thus forming pores or butas dun sa cell membrane, affecting the permeability of the cell. It allows leakage of intracellular ions and proteins. So these figures show the structure of amphotericin B. So yung amphotericin B, meron siyang polar mycosamine head and a long non-polar tail. Ginagawa niya, niyayakap niya yung ergosterol, no? So, niyayakap niya ergosterol. Kaya it binds directly, thereby sequestering it, as shown here in figure C. It sequesters ergosterol, thereby forming force on the cell membrane. This is just another figure, but this time, the emphasis is on the leakage of the different intracellular ions, including calcium, sodium, and potassium. Right. Next, let's move on to the ergosterol synthesis inhibitors. As I have mentioned, there are 2 steps that are important there, squalene epoxidase and the nosterol 14-alpha demethylase. The allylamines, which includes terbinafine, targets squalene epoxidase, while the azoles target the fungal cytochrome P450 enzyme, lanosterol 14-alpha demethylase, thereby inhibiting the conversion of lanosterol to ergosterol. So this is just the biochemical pathway involved there. So if you could see, it's the synthesis of lanosterol or ergosterol is similar to that of cholesterol. So pareho sila nagsa-start sa acetyl coenzyme A. Acetyl coenzyme A gets formed into farnesyl pyrophosphate and then to squalene. Now the step which involves the formation of squalene to squalene epoxide is mediated by the enzyme called squalene epoxidase, targeted by the allylamines such as terbinafine. Okay, while lanosterol, which eventually gets converted to ergosterol, is acted upon by the enzyme 14-alpha demethylase. And that's the one that gets targeted by azoles. Right. This figure shows you the action of azoles. In A, you don't have the azole, but in B, you have the azole. So A. So in A, you have various genes, right? And enzymes. Those genes encode for various enzymes that are involved in the synthesis of ergosterol. As I have mentioned, ergosterol is a component of the fungal cell membrane. However, in the presence of azoles, there's a step that's inhibited, leading to the formation of toxic 14-alpha methylsterols. right? So the 14-alpha methylsterols gets incorporated into the fungal cell membrane instead of ergosterol. Right. Next, let's talk about glucan synthesis inhibitors. Glucan synthesis. Okay, the echinocandins, recognized by their name, their suffix fungine, anidilafungine, caspofungine, and micafungine, they irreversibly inhibit beta-1,3-D glucan synthase. Beta-1,3-D glucan synthase is an enzyme complex that forms glucan polymers in the fungal cell wall. Disruption leads to reduced cell wall integrity, cell rupture, and cell death. Okay. This figure just shows you the mechanism of action. What's the enzyme inhibitor again? It's beta-1,3 glucan synthase. Alright? Beta-1,3 glucan synthase. This is another slide just showing the location of the glucan synthase complex. It's located in the fungal cell membrane. Okay? Okay. So, I'm emphasizing here at this point that the glucan synthase, the enzyme, is located in the plasma membrane. However, the final product of beta-glucan synthesis is found in the cell wall. Next drug class, in terms of mechanism of action, we have the nucleic acid inhibitor. We have the cytosine. It's an anti-metabolite type of drug. In other words, it copies a metabolite, an endogenous metabolite of our body. In this case, flucytosine is copying cytosine, right? Kaya nga flucytosine. Ang pinakaiba lang niya is a fluorinated derivative. So what it does is that it inhibits pyrimidine synthesis, specifically de novo pyrimidine synthesis. So flucytosine gets acted upon by cytosine deaminase to become 5-fluorouracil. And if you would remember, or I'm not sure if you're done with it already, 5-fluorouracil is one of the chemotherapy drugs. Alright, so this shows you the complete pathway. Flucytosine gets acted upon by cytosine deaminase to become 5-fluorouracil. 5-fluorouracil gets converted to 5-fluorouracil monophosphate, 5-fluorouridine monophosphate. Okay, 5-fluorouridine monophosphate gets acted upon by ribonucleotide reductase to become 5-fluorodeoxyuridine monophosphate, which in turn inhibits thymidylate synthase, thereby inhibiting the formation of thymine from uracil. Alright. Lastly, for the class of drugs based on mechanism of action, we have the antimitotic griseofulvin. It inhibits mitotic spindle formation. Right. So those are the different classes based on mechanism of action. Now we're still going to tackle them, still based on those classes, but this time focusing on the route and indication. So there are two possible routes for an antifungal, of course. It could be systemic or topical. Systemic, meaning for systemic illnesses, sino ba nagkakaroon ng systemic na fungal infection? Usually, mga immunosuppressed. For example, those with HIV/AIDS. While topical, for example, yung mga dermatophytic conditions, so yung mga an-an, bulni, alipunga, hadhad, no? So yung mga fungal infections in the skin, the hair, and the nails. Right. Let's start first with the systemic antifungal drugs. So, the most powerful antifungal drug is the polyene amphotericin B. So, unahin natin siya. Amphotericin B comes from the bacteria Streptomyces nodosus. It is fungicidal, and it also has the broadest spectrum of activity. It's also the most effective antifungal agent for the treatment of systemic fungal infections. Thus, it is the treatment of choice for all of these systemic conditions, whether it's caused by molds, for example, aspergillosis. It's a pulmonary aspergillus infection. Or those which are caused by candida and cryptococcus, which are yeasts. Okay? Even for blastomycosis, coccidioidosis, and endemic mycosis such as histoplasmosis, the drug of choice, if it's a systemic infection, is amphotericin B. How is it administered? It's actually poorly absorbed when given orally. And also, it also has poor CSF penetration, so it's not the drug of choice for CSF infections. So the preferred route is intravenously. However, if for example, if you have fungal meningitis, it could also be given intrathecally. In other words, to the spinal column. Okay, um, straight into the CSF actually, because it has poor CSF penetration. If you remember. Also, it would be given intrasynovially in the case of fungal arthritis. Remember that when you're giving amphotericin B parenterally, it should only be mixed with D5 water because it interacts with other intravenous fluids otherwise. And also, it has to be protected from light. So, for example, if you have carbon paper, you need to cover the yung suero, no? Okay. So, what are some of the adverse effects? So, the immediate reaction is fever and shaking chills. Yung tinatawag nating shake and bake. Shake and bake, hindi wake and bake, iba yun. So, other immediate reactions include muscle spasms, vomiting, headache, hypertension, dyspnea, and tachypnea. The slower onset effects include nephrotoxicity, electrolyte imbalance, specifically low potassium and magnesium, elevated liver enzymes, anemia, azotemia, thrombophlebitis, and CNS effects such as depression. Okay, yung thrombophlebitis, may mnemonic doon, pero hindi ko naiintindihan bakit siya ng mnemonic eh. Pero ang mnemonic doon is amphotericin. Okay? Thrombophlebitis. Not sure how it works, but there's a mnemonic there. Okay? Amphotericin B has various drug interactions. It enhances nephrotoxicity of other drugs. So ano ba yung mga alam niyo nephrotoxic drugs? So um, sa mga antibiotics, pinaka-important dyan yung aminoglycosides. Tapos other nephrotoxic agents include cyclosporin, foscarnet, and pentamidine. So for those undergoing chemotherapy with these antineoplastic agents such as cisplatin and nasturtium mustards, it also enhances nephrotoxicity. Next drug, we have flucytosine. It's a water-soluble pyrimidine analog. It is either fungistatic or fungicidal depending on the drug concentration. Unlike amphotericin B, flucytosine actually penetrates well into the CSF, but it has a narrower spectrum of activity. It's only effective for Cryptococcus, Candida, some strains of Aspergillus, and Chromoblastomycosis. Flucytosine is the only one that has a synergistic um, reaction when combined with amphotericin B. So it is commonly used in conjunction with that drug. It's also used in combination therapy for other agents such as fluconazole, for example, for cryptococcal meningitis and candida infections, and with itraconazole for chromoblastomycosis. Given that it's a nucleic acid derivative or it's a nucleic acid analog, its adverse effects include myelosuppression because remember, the bone marrow is a rapidly dividing or a highly active, mitotically active tissue. So in myelosuppression, if your bone marrow formation gets impaired, then it could lead to some conditions such as anemia, leukopenia, and thrombocytopenia. Low RBC, low white blood cell, and low platelet. Right. Next class of drugs. For the azoles, they are generally only fungistatic, and they are classified based on the number of nitrogen atoms in their five-membered azole ring. So, for example, you have here the figure on the right. You have miconazole on the upper part. If you look at the five-membered ring structure, it has only two nitrogen atoms. That's why it's an imidazole. Other imidazoles include ketoconazole, miconazole, and clotrimazole. In contrast, triazoles have three nitrogen atoms, and these include itraconazole and fluconazole. And if you look closely at the structure of fluconazole here, sa lower part, no, on the right, it is substituted with fluorides. Fluorides confer stability among these agents. Okay? So again, diazole nucleus, kapag dalawa, imidazole. Kapag tatlong nitrogen, triazoles. Right. So yung clotrimazole, ilan yung nitrogens dyan? Dalawa. So clotrimazole is an imidazole. Miconazole, imidazole din. Ketoconazole sa lower left, imidazole. Okay? Ay yung mga triazoles. Itraconazole and fluconazole, nabanggit na natin, pero dyan sa upper right, kasama din dyan ang voriconazole. And if you look at the structure of voriconazole, it is also fluoride substituted, meaning it's more stable in vivo. Right. So what's the mechanism of action of azoles again? The fungal cytochrome P450 enzyme, right? 14-alpha demethylase. Specifically, it has greater affinity for the fungal cytochrome over the human cytochrome P450 because remember, humans also have that enzyme. However, imidazoles have a lower degree of specificity. Therefore, they are more prone to drug interactions. If you would remember our mnemonic, Medviga. So ketoconazole in particular, as well as other imidazoles, are cytochrome P450 inhibitors. Right. So ketoconazole was the first azole that was introduced. It's clinically effective for mucocutaneous candidiasis, oral thrush, systemic and vaginal candidiasis, as well as dermatophytosis. There are certain conditions that increase absorption, such as low pH and food. So if you take your ketoconazole tablet, for example, with food, then that increases absorption. Low pH. So for example, if you take proton pump inhibitors, would that increase or decrease the absorption of ketoconazole? That would actually decrease the oral absorption of ketoconazole. Right. So, ketoconazole is also present in topical preparations. For example, in this Nizoral shampoo here, um, for aside from fungal infections, ketoconazole also increases the epidermal turnover. So it's helpful for some conditions such as seborrheic dermatitis. Okay. Also in some cosmetic preparations like this LSBL cream, yeah, it also contains ketoconazole. However, there are some limitations. Ketoconazole, it's low acting, it's less selective again for fungal P450, making it more susceptible to drug interactions. It also penetrates poorly into the cerebrospinal fluid, and it also has endocrinologic effects. Specifically, it inhibits the gonadal and adrenal steroid hormone synthesis in humans. So it could lead to some side effects such as gynecomastia actually, if you take it for a long time, orally, systemically. Another problem with ketoconazole is that when you take it with oral contraceptives, it may lower the efficacy of those drugs. So it could make you prone to pregnancy if you're a woman taking oral contraceptives. Okay. These are just some of the non-specific adverse effects: nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. Okay. In contrast to miconazole is primarily administered as a topical agent. The parenteral preparation is only used as a second-line agent in severe systemic fungal infections when other antifungal agents are ineffective or cannot be tolerated. Okay. Adverse effects include nausea and vomiting, diarrhea, phlebitis, pruritic rash, anaphylactic reactions, and CNS toxicity. Right. So those are imidazoles. Itraconazole is the most potent among azoles. It's effective against aspergillosis, cryptococcosis, blastomycosis, and coccidioidomycosis, as well as histoplasmosis. Similarly to ketoconazole, low pH in food would increase absorption. It also penetrates poorly to the CSF, but in contrast to ketoconazole, it does not affect gonadal hormone synthesis. But other adverse effects include a rash and elevations in liver enzymes. Right. Next drug, let's talk about fluconazole. So kung babalikan yung structure kanina ng mga azoles, di ba meron siyang azole ring, either imidazole or triazole, and then the rest of the molecule. Actually, the azole ring serves as a polar head, while the rest of the molecule is hydrophobic. Hydrophobic, thereby copying the structure of lanosterol. Okay? However, take note that um, fluconazole, in contrast, does not have that hydrophobic ring. So it has two azoles, right? Thereby making it water soluble. Okay, so that's what you need to remember for the drug fluconazole. It's water soluble. Okay. Fluconazole is a drug of choice for infections involving Cryptococcus and Candida meningitis. Other uses include for Candida oropharyngeal infection, esophagitis, and as a prophylaxis for fungal disease in those who are immunosuppressed. So who are these immunosuppressed patients? This include bone marrow transplant recipients, and they may be taking, for example, immunosuppressants to prevent transplant rejection, as well as those with acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. So the differentiating properties include its water solubility as well as its good CSF penetration. The advantage of that is that because it's water soluble, it allows IV administration. It also has an excellent bioavailability via the oral route. It also has the least effect on hepatic microsomal enzymes because it is a triazole, meaning it is more specific to the fungal enzyme compared to the other imidazoles. Aside from that, unlike ketoconazole, it has no endocrinologic effects. All right. Adverse effects include GI disturbances, exfoliative skin reactions, and headaches. Right. So we're done with that class. Now we're moving on to nystatin. Nystatin is both fungicidal and fungistatic. However, it is too toxic to be given systemically. That's why actually its oral preparation is only given as a swish preparation, right? Meaning you swish and spit. So this oral preparation may be useful for candida infections, right? It's primarily used as a topical agent. Adverse effects include GI distress and hypersensitivity. Now for the echinocandins, typified by caspofungin, it has a poor CNS penetration. It's only given intravenously. Therefore, there is no IV counterpart. Therapeutic uses include invasive candidiasis and invasive aspergillosis refractory to other agents. Next class, we have griseofulvin. Griseofulvin comes from Penicillium griseofulvum. It is also a fungistatic and a keratophilic. It's for the systemic treatment of cutaneous fungal infections such as dermatophytosis. It's effective against Microsporum, Epidermophyton, and Trichophyton. So yan mga fungal infections of the skin, hair, and nails. Review nyo lang sa microbiology kung alin dyan yung nag-work lang sa skin and hair or sa hair and nails, etc. Alright. Again, therapeutic use, tinea infections. It also has increased absorption when given with fatty foods. Adverse effects include fatigue, headache, as well as leukopenia, neutropenia, and granulocytopenia. And lastly, for the systemic agents, we have terbinafine, which is a synthetic allylamine. It could be either fungicidal or fungistatic. And it's important to remember that it's effective against dermatophytic fungi. So let's review. Pag trichophyton, effective, it causes fungal infection of the skin, hair, and nails. But if it's microsporum, it only causes fungal infection of the skin and hair, walang nails. While epidermophyton causes infection of the skin and nails only, walang hair. Right? So those are the differences between the different dermatophytic fungi. So the specific names of the conditions in which they are targeted, in which they are working, include Candida onychomycosis, which is a fungal infection of the fingernails, dermatophytic onychomycosis, which is a fungal infection of the toenails, Tinea capitis, of the head or the scalp, Tinea corporis, fungal infection of the body. Adverse effects include taste or ocular disturbances, decrease in lymphocytic count or neutropenia, as well as serious skin reactions. So from systemic fungal drugs, now let's move on to the topical preparations. Right. So amphotericin B, despite being very effective as a systemic agent, is also available as a cream or lotion, specifically a 3% cream. It's used for cutaneous candidal infections. Its advantage is that it has relatively lower toxicity compared to the systemic preparation. Next, polyene, nystatin, is available in various forms, including creams, ointments, topical powder, including a vaginal tablet. So the therapeutic uses includes oropharyngeal thrush and vaginal candidiasis. It's also useful for intertriginous candida infections. When we say intertriginous, so may seeing it, right? Ketoconazole is available as a cream or shampoo. The cream is useful for skin infections like tinea infections, cutaneous candidiasis, as well as seborrheic dermatitis. The shampoo is useful for reducing scaling due to dandruff. No? So, seborrheic dermatitis din yon. But for flaky, sa scalp naman. Okay? Miconazole, available in these preparations. Cream, powder, tincture, vaginal cream, as well as vaginal suppositories. It is used against tinea pedis, tinea cruris, tinea corporis, and tinea versicolor caused by dermatophytes, as well as for vulvovaginal candidiasis. Okay. Clotrimazole is available as a lozenge or parang candy. No? The lozenge is useful for oropharyngeal candidiasis, as well as a prophylaxis for mucocutaneous candidiasis in the immunosuppressed, including those with HIV, specifically infants or children who have HIV. Okay. It's also available as a cream, lotion, or solution. It's for skin infections such as dermatophytic infections, cutaneous candidiasis, as well as superficial mycosis. The vaginal tablet is used for vulvovaginal candidiasis. And lastly, allylamines are also available as a topical preparation. Specifically, naftifin is available as a topical cream and a topical gel, while terbinafine is available as a topical cream. Therapeutic uses, similar as other topical preparations, dermatophytic infections, cutaneous candidiasis, and tinea infections. That's it for the second half of the third part of our lecture. I would like to leave you with this message. Wise and humane management of the patient is still the best safeguard against infection. And this is according to Florence Nightingale. But during Florence Nightingale's time, there were no antibacterials and there were no antifungals. So the basics were the most important part of infectious disease management. And still now, especially if you go to the provinces, if you go to underserved communities, it's still the best and most humane way um, to manage infectious diseases. That's it. If you have any questions or feedback, don't hesitate to contact me using our Moodle. Thank you very much, everyone.